Some of these brands will charge you $80,000 and still leave you stranded. In 2026, Consumer Reports exposed entire brands, not just models, that are failing their owners on a scale that should terrify every buyer in the market right now. Electrical systems dying without warning, powertrains collapsing before the loan is halfway paid. And the worst part? These are names you trust, names that might be sitting in your driveway right now. 10 brands, real data, real consequences. And the one at number 1, the most hyped name in the industry and has a reliability score that is genuinely hard to read without your jaw dropping. Let's get into it. Number 10, Volvo. Volvo built its entire identity on 2 things: safety and Scandinavian dependability. That identity is now under serious data-backed pressure. In J.D. Power's 2026 Vehicle Dependability Study, Volvo tracked 296 problems per 100 vehicles, landing them firmly in the bottom tier of the entire industry. To put that in perspective, the industry average sits around 190 problems per 100 vehicles. Volvo isn't slightly below average. They're sitting nearly 55% worse than where the industry as a whole lands. That's not a blip, that's a pattern. The biggest culprit is their aggressive push into new EV platforms. The EX90, Volvo's flagship electric SUV, launched with glitches baked into its high-tech software suite that left real owners dealing with frozen screens, failed driver assistance systems, and connectivity drops that felt more like a bad beta test than an $80,000 premium product. The lane keeping system, the thing Volvo markets as a safety cornerstone, was throwing errors in real-world driving conditions. Here's what makes it sting more. Volvo was once a Consumer Reports recommended brand, not just a decent choice, a recommended one. Owners bought into that trust. They paid the premium expecting calm, reliable, low-drama ownership. What a significant number of them got instead were repeat trips to the dealer for software patches, sensor recalibrations, and electronic gremlins that no amount of firmware updates fully eliminated. This isn't just inconvenient. When your lane keep assist freezes on the highway or your collision warning system goes dark mid-drive, that's not a software inconvenience. That is a safety failure, and Volvo's entire brand promise is built on not having those. The resale story is starting to follow. EX90 values in the secondary market are reflecting buyer hesitation in a way that didn't exist 2 years ago. Do you own a Volvo EX90 or any recent Volvo EV model? Drop your real experience in the comments. The good and the bad. This community pays attention to owner testimony. The trend here isn't unique to Volvo. It's a warning sign rippling across the industry as brands rush electrification faster than their engineering teams can stabilize it. But the next brand on this list took that same approach and made it even worse. Number 9, Volkswagen. Volkswagen ranked dead last in J.D. Power's 2026 Vehicle Dependability Study with an industry-worst 301 problems per 100 vehicles. Read that again. Not near the bottom, not second to last, dead last. Worst score. Entire industry. Most buyers assume VW occupies a safe middle ground. German engineering pedigree, reasonable value, nothing too flashy, and nothing too broken. That assumption is costing people real money right now. The reality in 2026 is a brand crippled almost entirely by a single strategic decision, replacing physical controls with a software-heavy touchscreen interface across nearly the entire lineup. J.D. Power's data is unambiguous. The core driver of VW's catastrophic score is their infotainment and control system. Laggy, unintuitive, and prone to freezing in ways that make daily driving genuinely frustrating. We're talking screens that lock up mid-drive and require a full system restart. Climate control that becomes completely unresponsive on cold mornings. Volume and fan adjustments that take multiple taps to register while you're moving through traffic. These aren't edge cases, they're widespread enough to produce the worst dependability score in the entire industry. The deeper problem is that VW made this decision deliberately and defended it publicly. They pulled physical knobs, buttons, and dials in the name of modern design aesthetics. Owners didn't get a say. They found out after they drove off the lot. Resale values on the most affected VW models are now tracking below what the brand historically commanded. Used car buyers are doing their homework. When they search VW infotainment reliability before purchasing, they find exactly this kind of data, and they negotiate accordingly or they walk. VW has engineering talent that built some of the most capable cars in history. The fact that a touchscreen decision is responsible for the worst reliability score in the industry is genuinely embarrassing for a brand with that pedigree. Have you dealt with a freezing or unresponsive infotainment system in a newer VW. You're not alone, and based on this data, you are very much in the majority. The next brand carries a significantly more expensive badge, but a nearly identical story about technology decisions gone wrong. Number 8. Mercedes-Benz. When you hand over $60,000, $70,000 or more for a luxury vehicle, the baseline expectation is that it works reliably, consistently, without fault codes appearing on a 2-year-old car. Mercedes-Benz in 2026 is proving that premium price and dependable ownership are no longer the same promise. Consumer Reports hit Mercedes hard in their 2026 data, with the E-Class emerging as the central drag on the brand's overall reliability score. The E-Class is supposed to be the backbone of the entire Mercedes lineup. Executive presence, beautifully engineered, the car that justifies the badge. What owners are experiencing in the real world is something else entirely. A vehicle with one of the most complicated electrical architectures in the segment, and all that complexity is generating real, recurring failure points. The symptoms are consistent across owner reports. MBUX infotainment crashes that require a full system reboot while driving. Electronic module faults that trigger multiple warning lights with no clear root cause. Owners describe bringing their E-Class in for a single software-related complaint and leaving the dealer with 3 additional warning lights that weren't there when they dropped it off. Diagnosis costs on a nearly new Mercedes for an electrical fault are running $400 to $600 before a single part is ordered or replaced. The core issue is architectural. Mercedes has stacked so many sensors, modules, redundant software layers, and over-the-air update pipelines into these vehicles that even factory-trained technicians are spending hours tracing fault origins. That complexity doesn't just slow down repairs, it inflates costs, creates parts availability delays, and extends the amount of time owners spend without their vehicle. For a brand whose entire value proposition is built on engineering excellence, the narrative around the 2026 E-Class is a direct attack on that identity. Do you own a Mercedes E-Class or any current generation Mercedes model? We genuinely want to hear from you. Is the ownership experience delivering what the price tag promised? Tell us in the comments, because real owner experience is more valuable than any manufacturer press release. Up next, a brand that most American buyers associate with domestic prestige. The reality in 2026 is a significant departure from that reputation. Number 7. Lincoln. Lincoln is Ford's flagship luxury division. It exists to deliver the pinnacle of American comfort, refinement, and long-term quality. The kind of ownership experience that justifies paying significantly more than a standard Ford. Right now, in 2026, it's delivering something far less flattering. Consumer Reports flagged Lincoln for hardware component defects and in-car infotainment system failures that appear to be systemic across the current lineup. Not isolated to one model, not one production run, but a repeating pattern across multiple vehicles. The Lincoln Corsair draws the most attention. Owners describe a vehicle that looks stunning on the showroom floor and begins showing its real character within 12 months of ownership. The sync-based infotainment system freezes without warning. Touchscreen response becomes erratic. Interior technology features that were central to the buying decision turn into daily frustrations. J.D. Power's 2026 vehicle dependability study corroborated this, with Lincoln appearing in the problematic section of the rankings for owner-reported quality issues that should have been resolved in pre-production validation. The financial dimension is what truly stings. Lincoln is not an economy brand. Buyers spending $45,000 to $60,000 on a Corsair are not expecting their investment to come with software gremlins and unresponsive interfaces. They're buying a reduced stress ownership experience. When that expectation breaks down before the warranty period ends, the perceived value of the entire transaction collapses, and Lincoln's already modest resale trajectory takes another hit. The Corsair's pattern connects back to a platform-level problem that Ford has struggled to resolve across its luxury and mainstream brands. Over-reliance on touchscreen and software-heavy systems deployed without the maturity to function reliably at scale. The next brand on this list shares parentage with some of these same platform decisions, but the problems extend well beyond infotainment, reaching into powertrain territory that costs real money to fix. Number 6. Genesis. Genesis launched into the luxury space with genuine ambition and, for a while, genuine results. Korean engineering precision, premium interior execution, competitive pricing against BMW and Mercedes that turned heads. For a stretch, Consumer Reports was actually kind to the brand, the GV60, and the entire reliability story changed. Consumer Reports listed Genesis among the most troubled brands in 2026, with specific and serious criticism pointed at the GV GV60's software architecture and battery management system performance. These are not minor interface complaints. Battery management system errors in an electric vehicle affect range calculation accuracy, charging behavior, thermal regulation, and in worst-case scenarios, vehicle safety. Owners reported unexpected system shutdowns during normal driving, charging failures that left the vehicle unable to accept power at standard stations. Range estimates that swung by 30 to 40 miles from what the vehicle actually delivered in real-world conditions. For a luxury EV starting above $55,000, that gap between promise and performance is a serious problem, and the emotional weight of it matters. These weren't buyers who stumbled into a GV60 impulsively. They researched, they test drove, they chose Genesis because the brand appeared to be delivering something special at a price point below European competitors. Many of them stretched their budgets to get there. What they effectively became was the unpaid test fleet for an EV platform that wasn't ready for prime time at launch scale. The issues being reported in 2026, they were discovered on highways and in driveways by real owners paying real monthly payments. Genesis has the engineering foundation to fix this, but in 2026, the data reflects a brand that moved too fast for its own reliability record. Do you own a Genesis GV60 or any Genesis EV? Share your ownership experience in the comments, especially if you've dealt with charging or range issues. We're halfway through the list. Before we continue, if this is giving you information, dealerships would prefer you never hit that subscribe button. We cover the data the showroom floor doesn't advertise. Now let's get back to it, because the second half of this list is where the damage gets significantly more expensive. Number 5. Chrysler. Chrysler's current North American lineup is essentially built around one vehicle, the Pacifica minivan. That's the flagship. That's the product the brand lives and dies by in the family segment. And that one vehicle has become one of the most persistently problematic reliability stories in the entire industry. Not just in 2026, but across several consecutive model years with no clean resolution in sight. The Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid has been flagged by both J.D. Power and Consumer Reports for electrical system bugs and hybrid powertrain failures that keep returning regardless of model year updates. This isn't a new problem that Chrysler is actively solving. It's a chronic condition that has followed the Pacifica Hybrid through multiple revisions without a definitive fix. The failure patterns are specific and well documented across owner communities. The plug-in hybrid system throws fault codes that aren't always covered cleanly under the standard warranty, creating disputes between owners and dealers about responsibility. The electrical architecture generates gremlins that affect everything from the power sliding doors to the climate system to charging behavior. Because the Pacifica Hybrid sits at the intersection of a high voltage battery system and an aging underlying electrical architecture, dealer diagnosis times are long, and repair bills when they fall outside warranty coverage are significant. Here's the human cost of this. Families buy the Pacifica Hybrid for exactly the right reasons. It's spacious, practical, fuel efficient when the hybrid system works properly, and priced to deliver real value. The parents shopping this vehicle are thinking about school runs, road trips, weekend activities. What a troubling number of them end up thinking about instead is how many times they've been back to the dealer, how long the loaner situation dragged on, and whether they should have just bought something simpler. Chrysler's reliability story in 2026 remains defined by a hybrid minivan that hasn't solved the problems that were present at its launch. That's a serious indictment for any brand, but especially one with a lineup this narrow. And if you think a minivan's reliability problems are bad, the next brand is going to show you what happens when those same problems hit the trucks that people depend on for their livelihoods. Number 4. GMC. GMC occupies premium ground in the American truck and SUV market. These aren't budget vehicles. A fully loaded GMC Sierra 1500 or Yukon Denali is a $70,000 to $90,000 transaction. The buyers writing those checks are ranchers, contractors, business owners, and families who need these vehicles to perform without question. In 2026, GMC is failing them in two separate and very distinct ways. The first failure is in the engine room. Large V8 trucks, the product that defines GMC's identity, have been generating engine failure reports serious enough in volume to drag the entire brand's reliability score into the bottom tier of Consumer Reports' rankings. The issues range from oil consumption problems that emerge within the first 30,000 miles, to timing chain wear patterns that shouldn't be appearing in trucks this new, to outright engine failures that leave owners stranded with a vehicle that cost as much as a house down payment. An engine replacement on a full-size GMC GMC truck, depending on configuration and failure type, is looking at $8,000 to $15,000 in repair costs. That's not a warranty claim, that's a financial event. The second failure is in the redesigned Acadia. GMC's mid-size SUV came out of its complete redesign, carrying severe electronic system glitches, infotainment connectivity failures, erratic warning system behavior, and interface issues that made the new model feel less polished and less reliable than the previous generation it was supposed to improve upon. Launching a redesigned vehicle that underperforms its predecessor on quality is a development failure that no amount of marketing spend can cover. What connects these two problems is a brand that was managing multiple major product challenges simultaneously and stumbled on both ends. GMC's reputation is built on durability. In 2026, that reputation is taking measurable damage. If you own a GMC Sierra or a redesigned Acadia, we want to hear what you're experiencing. Specifically, have you dealt with any engine irregularities or electronic failures? Your comment could save someone else from a very expensive mistake. Up next is a brand whose name is synonymous with American freedom. In 2026, that freedom comes with some very expensive asterisks. Number 3, Jeep. Few names in automotive history carry the emotional weight that Jeep does. Adventure, capability, the freedom to go where most vehicles can't follow. Jeep owners have historically been among the most loyal in the industry, willing to accept quirks and trade off some refinement for the experience the brand delivers. That loyalty is being tested in ways that go well beyond acceptable quirks. The score reflects widespread mechanical complaints and build quality concerns that touch multiple models across the lineup. But the single most problematic vehicle, and the one causing the deepest damage, is the Grand Cherokee 4xe, Jeep's plug-in hybrid flagship. The 4xe was positioned as Jeep's bridge between legendary off-road DNA and modern electrified efficiency, trail-rated capability with the added benefit of electric range for daily driving. It was a compelling pitch. The execution, however, introduced levels of system complexity that the underlying architecture wasn't ready to manage reliably, charging system fault codes that appear without clear cause, powertrain warning messages that send owners to the dealer with no definitive repair outcome. The Grand Cherokee 4xe became a familiar visitor to Jeep service departments for a significant portion of its owners. What makes this emotionally different from a standard reliability complaint is the identity dimension. Jeep buyers didn't just make a transportation decision, they made a statement about who they are. It breaks trust in a way that's very hard to rebuild. Do you own a Grand Cherokee 4xe or any current generation Jeep? Tell us honestly in the comments. Is it holding up, or has the ownership experience changed how you feel about the brand? The next two brands on this list represent the most financially consequential reliability failures on the entire countdown. Stay with us. Number 2, Ram. Ram trucks are woven into the fabric of American working life. On job sites in Texas, on farm roads in Nebraska, in driveways from Maine to California, Ram was building real momentum. That momentum is now running headfirst into a wall of reliability data. Ram landed as the second worst brand in Consumer Reports' 2026 reliability rankings, driven by significant electrical system failures and powertrain complaints that pushed the brand to near the absolute bottom of the industry. The Ram 1500's individual model reliability score was among the worst of any vehicle Consumer Reports evaluated this year, not among trucks, among all vehicles, in any segment. The complaints from owners are specific: electrical system failures that leave trucks completely non-functional, stranded at work sites, in parking lots, at the side of highways, powertrain warning codes emerging in vehicles with under 30,000 miles on the odometer, the e-torque mild hybrid system, Ram's answer to fuel efficiency in the 1500 lineup, has generated consistent fault patterns that dealers are treating as routine at this point. When dealers start treating a recurring failure as routine, that's when you know the problem is systemic. The financial exposure here is real and significant. A fully loaded Ram 1500 Limited or Longhorn in 2026 is a $65,000 to $75,000 purchase. At that price point, owners have an absolute right to expect electrical systems that don't fail inside the first 2 years. They have a right to expect powertrains that don't generate warning codes before the factory warranty even expires. Too many Ram owners are not getting what they paid for. Resale values are starting to price in this reputation shift. Ram 1500s in the used market are facing increased buyer skepticism, and negotiation dynamics have changed in a way that hurts trade and equity for current owners. Number 1. Rivian, the R1T and R1S, launched to some of the most enthusiastic press reviews of any vehicle in recent memory. A truck that actually drove well, felt purposeful, and made people genuinely believe that the EV revolution could include serious off-road capability without compromising on range or technology. In 2026, Consumer Reports assigned Rivian a predicted reliability score of 24 out of 100. That is the lowest score of any brand on this entire list. The lowest score in the Consumer Reports automotive rankings. The worst predicted reliability score of any car brand in America. 24 out of 100. The issues that built that score are structural to Rivian's situation as a young, software-first company scaling manufacturing at a pace that outran quality control. Early adopter software bugs are pervasive and persistent. Over-the-air updates, the mechanism Rivian designed to fix problems remotely without dealer visits, have in multiple documented cases introduced new issues while patching old ones. Electronic component failures across the R1T and R1S have affected air suspension systems, gear tunnel electronics, infotainment stability, and driver assistance features. Rivian owners didn't just buy a vehicle, many of them bought a mission. They believed in the company's vision, they were willing to be early supporters, and they paid $80,000 to $90,000 for that belief. What a substantial portion of them received in return was the privilege of being the real-world test fleet, discovering the failure modes that should have been found in controlled testing environments before a single vehicle reached a customer driveway. Failure to deliver baseline reliability is a serious problem for owners, for Rivian's long-term brand equity, and for the broader EV market that needs these vehicles to perform in order to maintain consumer confidence. Rivian absolutely has the engineering talent, the capital access, and the platform potential to turn this around. But the data in 2026 tells the story of where things stand right now. And right now, no brand in America is less reliable. Do you own a Rivian R1T or R1S? We want to hear from you directly. Is your ownership experience matching this data, or have you been fortunate enough to avoid the major issues? Both answers matter. Drop them in the comments below. 10 brands, one brutal through line. Complexity deployed faster than reliability could follow. Whether it's Rivian's score of 24 at the top of the list, Ram's near-bottom powertrain failures, Volkswagen's record-breaking problem count, or Jeep betting on hybrid technology it wasn't ready to execute. 2026 is a year that delivered a hard reminder to every buyer in the market. A recognizable name on a badge and a high number on a window sticker are not guarantees. They are marketing. The data tells a different story. You now have that data. Most people shopping for a new vehicle right now will never look this up. They'll walk into a dealership, trust the salesperson, and sign a contract on something that this research would have told them to avoid. You won't be one of them. Here's your question for the comments. Which brand on this list surprised you the most? And if you've owned or currently own any of these vehicles, what has your real experience been? We read every comment, and the community here genuinely learns from owner testimony. If this video delivered real value, subscribe so you're here for what's coming next. Because next time, we're flipping this entire list, the most reliable car brands of 2026, the ones quietly building bulletproof reputations while their competitors generate headlines for all the wrong reasons. That's a list worth seeing before you make your next buying decision.